Hello, welcome to our session, Redefining Gifted, Understanding that All Students Are Special. I'm Maddie, and some of my team members are here today, Ms. Mariah and Anna. And then some of our other team members are Awa, Candice, Jaden, and Sernay. We are so excited to present to you what we've learned throughout this process. We are here with Rethink Youth Conference, and we are really inspired by them because they uplift student voice and make sure that it's being elevated and not ignored.
Absolutely. And what we describe student voices is exactly what it sounds like. It's what a student wants to say. And this takes into account their perspective, their values. It takes into account just their overall experience with their school and just their life in general. And why this is important to us is because student voice is really what drives all of this. Without student voice, we wouldn't have anything to really talk about. Student voice is all of the topics that we're going through. And this is a really cool opportunity for students to bring out their voice, to research their topics, and to make just a big presentation about what they really care about. And for us, our thing that we care about is just opening the conversation about gifted programs and seeing what we find and what alternatives there are for that.
Yes, definitely. We actually know a student, and they are very artistically talented. They can do so many things, including like making a sculpture of their own head and using it as like an earring holder. And what we've noticed is that there are not programs for people like them. They aren't able to really express those talents outside of their normal art classes or a simple art club. And we know that there are so many career opportunities for them that they just don't know about simply because the resources aren't there. So we really want to make a difference and give them those opportunities that we know we have if we are excelling at math or science. We want them to have those same type of opportunities.
Exactly. And it's students like that that are driving us to make this presentation and redefine and rethink what gifted looks like. We want to encourage other schools and other districts to do the exact same thing. Just being being doing well in core classes shouldn't be what makes a student deserving of an enriching education. All students should have the opportunity to learn and grow and reach their full potential, whether they're artistically, vocationally, or even militarily inclined. We want to open that conversation. And in our presentation, we're going to be giving the information and offering solutions to other schools and districts to implement. We've also have a project brief for people to look at where we seriously highlight and outline those solutions. We hope that you enjoy our presentation.
Hello, my name is Jaden, and today me and my session team will be discussing our topic, Redefining Gifted. My session team consists of students that are from Raytown High School and Raytown South High School. The session will focus on expanding the criteria for gifted classification in high school. Current gifted models exclude students who are not gifted in ways traditionally seen as academic. The team asserts that schools should recognize students who are on technical, artistic, and/or military tracks and pathways. The team will offer alternative structures to the current gifted models being used today. And here are the names listed that consist of my session team. First, I would like to introduce Anna, who's a senior, Awa, who's a junior, and Candice, who's a senior. Next, we have Jaden, who's a junior, myself, we have Maddie, who's a senior, and Ms. Mariah, who's a junior. Lastly, we have Sernay, who's a senior, and lastly, again, we have Alicia, who's our session coordinator. Raytown schools are made up of 47% Black, 30% white, 13% Hispanic, 8% mixed race, 1% Asian, and 1% Hawaiian, and less than 1% Native American. Here at the Raytown High Schools, we have a culture of rallying together in causes we believe in. We are unique because of our diversity and opportunity to advocate for our peers.
Hi, my name is Sernay, and I'll be focusing on why the program needs to be reformed. According to Time, since the inception of gifted and talented programs, we have operated based on the idea that children are either born with rare and exceptional intellectual capacity or they're not. This is the mindset we insist to get rid of with the reform, that kids do not have to believe they are either born smart or not. The gifted program tends to create this conforming mentality that later down the road impacts many students. There is a bond created between personal value and academic value that then stunts the child's learning capabilities throughout school. Our team concluded that there is this level of pressure that is presented to a child through the gifted program, where they feel they need to uphold a certain status by all means necessary. I remember in the third grade, sitting in class, and the teacher would divide us up by reading levels. Being a Z level reader, my group would always sit outside the classroom and read significantly harder material, to the point where it was expected I could read faster and harder books than the rest of the class. Going to the library, I feel like I had to get chapter books to prove my status as being a gifted child. Being gifted means not doubting your intelligence until a place like high school forces you to rely on your learning tactics rather than natural intelligence. Gifted quote unquote burnouts, or children that have been through the program, rarely develop a fundamental tactic to learning. They tend to rely on their primitive or base level natural intelligence to guide them through tasks. We are trying to shake this mentality by reforming the gifted program that not only enhances the child's abilities, but provides them with assurance in their academic growth. People with a growth mindset, on the other hand, are concerned with learning and not grades. They don't just jump right into work. They jump right into work and work out the difficult problems rather than seeing it as a personal threat. Moving forward, some defining key terms that came up in our discussion were gifted, acknowledging academic advances that require an external push to students who appear capable to handle a more intense work and content load. Then we have equity, where we want all students to feel equal and to succeed, but to be given the right tools that is personal and specific to their needs. According to the Stanford magazine, The Effort Effect, we are currently rated on unfair performance measures and expectations that do not capture the entirety of the student's story or abilities. With performance, student whose performance is paramount want to look smart even if it means not learning anything in the process. For them, each task is a challenge to their self-image, and each setback becomes a personal threat. Then we have insight. With insight, we want to promote transparency within the gifted program. Here in our district, we are giving parents the option to have teachers write their kids a referral for the gifted program. This is a positive step in the right direction, making the gifted program open and easily accessible throughout the students, the faculty, and the parents. Then we have exclusion. Though my team is very knowledgeable on the gifted concept, we do feel for our classmates who weren't in the gifted programs, who felt like they weren't good enough to be considered challenged or to be academically capable for intake on such heavy load. We want to remove that stigma and refuse that the gifted program is exclusive or is trying to leave children out. And lastly, we have opportunity. We want the gifted program to have an unbiased opinion when admitting students. We want to look at students in their natural classroom setting and not judge them or make assumptions based on their classroom behavior or their classroom presence.
My name is Maddie, and I'll be discussing the what of our project. Like Renee stated earlier, everyone in the Raytown team has been involved with the advanced route, whether that be in gifted programs or taking advanced courses. We noticed that we were also all involved in extracurriculars, so we were interested in the correlation between gifted programs and student involvement. Ultimately, we landed on rethinking the current gifted program because we knew that the changes we would like to make would create more opportunities for students. Throughout this process, we have not only read about our topic, but we've seen how it impacts our peers, whether that be disproportionately affecting low-income communities as well as Black and Hispanic communities, or there simply just not being enough opportunities for students who have amazing talents, but may not excel at their standard core classes. We have even taken a look at how students are selected for the gifted programs within our district. We have reviewed the expectations Missouri has for schools when identifying gifted students. When approaching this topic, we wanted to make sure that we created an environment where discussions can be had because our goal is to reform these programs in place rather than to start from scratch. Along with this, we gathered other challenges from our own experiences, as well as examining articles about various gifted programs throughout the country. As for our recommendations, our biggest influence was looking at different approaches to gifted programs that are working and determining how we can incorporate that into the existing programs.
Hello, I'm Jaden, and I will be discussing the history over our topic. According to DESE, there is no limit to the number of students who can be served in a state-approved gifted program. Some of the history behind our topic were solutions that have worked for people and some that have not, such as trying to make sure that students are able to get the help they need to be in the gifted program and make sure that there is no limits to who can be in the program and who cannot be. The history of defining gifted definitions vary across the board. In the Purdue study, The System Failure, Access Denied, the following definition is cited in an effort to capture and develop more human talents. Scholars have called for a broadened definition of giftedness for decades. In 1978, Rizzulli proposed giftedness as a behavior in his three-ring conception of giftedness. He suggested giftedness could be found in any area of human endeavor and required only above average ability in that area, when coupled with creativity and task commitment. Missouri defines gifted education as children who exhibit precocious development of mental capacity and learning potential as determined by competent professional evaluation to the extent that continues educational growth and stimulation could best be served by an academic environment beyond that offered through a standard grade level curriculum. The gifted program has a direct impact on students and families with the program inside and outside of it. For example, this could relate to students. For example, in the NEA article, Joseph Neps talks about a web of barriers working against students, especially minorities and low-class students. Barriers can include first language other than English, low access to resources, and unequal treatment. Our topic, Redefining Gifted, also relates to teachers because most gifted programs are based on teacher recommendations and teachers tend to fall back on things like test scores. This in turn makes it difficult for students who do not test well or have talents outside of academics to get proper advancement. This could also relate to families because of the probability of giftedness is heavily related to family. And this could also be a problem in school because Raytown being Title I means that gifted programs are not excused from the barrier. Raytown has failed its intelligent, artistic, vocationally talented, and military students, which could also relate back to our city. Kansas City Metro Schools' gifted programs can be modified to better fit their students' talents and include more students altogether.
Hi, my name is Anna. So our group identified several challenges within the gifted program. Our first major challenge is funding. The National Association for Gifted Children recognizes that the wide range of state laws and local policies regarding gifted education creates a disparity in funding and the quality of services provided by schools. Along with that, also comes the fact that socioeconomics and race play a role in who and who isn't selected for gifted programs. For example, in a 2017 report from the National Center for Education Statistics, 13% of Asian American students, 8% of white students, 5% of Hispanic students, and just 4% of Black students were enrolled in gifted and talented programs. And as previously mentioned, students in Title I schools are identified at 67% of the rate of those in non-Title I schools. And that goes for here in Missouri as well. And it's also been revealed in an article from National Education Association titled High Achieving Low-Income Students Excluded from Gifted Classes, Investigation Finds, revealed that just 1 of 3 low-income students who with superior math scores are labeled as gifted, compared to 1 of 2 students with equal achievement from wealthier homes. So there's also the problem of perceptions, which is why it's incredibly important that we redefine what gifted means. Often the students who are gifted are the ones who excel in their core classes, which means students who aren't identified as gifted often feel unintelligent and left out and inferior, as has been discussed. In fact, Dr. Carol Dweck, a psychology professor at Stanford, her and her team discovered that by essentially labeling kids as dumb or smart, a fixed mindset is created, which makes them feel as if there's no room for growth or development, so they stop trying and they stop pushing themselves. And this starts early. The same article from the NEA mentions how students are sorted and tracked as early as 4th grade. So, we have a few recommendations. The solution to these problems is not getting rid of gifted education. The solutions are expanding gifted education, redefining what gifted means, and implementing new ideas. Reach out to your community and communities that surround you for help research new solutions, such as self-paced classrooms, which have shown promising results, and help change the connotation of gifted by supporting and implementing the expansion of gifted education, along with fighting to recognize all gifted students, no matter their background.
Hi, my name is Awa. Now we will be looking at the how. We plan to redefine the gifted program, and with that, self-paced learning is a great recommendation. For schools that have implemented student-paced learning, we've seen exponential benefits. Within the classroom, the goal is for students to shape their own learning experience, where the teacher is a guidance tool that gives advice on proficiency and feedback. Essentially, there is still a state-mandated curriculum students must get through by the end of the quarter in order to move grades, but now they have access to online extensions and activities to enhance their learning for their own specific needs. Self-directed learning promotes the natural development of self-confidence, initiative, perseverance, and life satisfaction. It reinforces collaboration and drive in students in the gifted program as well as students that are not. This offers more equitable opportunities. Redefining gifted programs will be implemented by branching out to surrounding schools and districts to see if you could join or partner with their programs and centers to open opportunities for both parties. Your students are given the chance to explore new educational possibility, and they are given a more diverse population. Such expansion also allows schools and districts to meet equity standards. This can be done by networking within the community, educating the community, working to pass a bond, or discovering ways for funding to be reallocated. As vocational and artistic students are given a platform to thrive in, students will start to see and understand they have their own talents that serve a purpose. A new definition and a new perception of gifted programs and what gifted looks like will come with the implementation of new ideas. To close, we want you to remember, yes, each child is born with his or her own personality for learning within traditional classrooms, but we need to think about gifted and talented as the goal and not the starting point. Thank you for listening.
Before coming into this project, I didn't really know what to expect. I had just briefly heard about it from my counselor, and so I'm really glad I took part in that because it's definitely been something a lot different and unique anything I would have ever experienced at school. Throughout this project and doing research on the different gifted programs, our team has certainly learned a lot, whether that's gifted programs that worked or that didn't work. We're able to use that to develop our own solutions as we've seen. We've also learned about how to approach different gifted programs, whether that was how we define them and how we label them, or even how the testing processes work, and really what goes into each individual gifted program and what makes that unique. The impact we hope that the session has on education is allowing more opportunities for students like us and others that we know that don't get those same opportunities, whether they are very artistic or whether they are just great public speakers. We want them to be able to show their talents like we do in our normal STEM classes. We hope that everyone watching is able to uplift the voices of those who do not receive these same opportunities and who may not have these resources. We want you to continue to be an advocate for them, whether that's trying to get more classes for them or other extracurriculars for them. And don't forget that we are doing a live Q&A after this session, so make sure to stick around because we will be eagerly waiting to answer all of your questions. Thank you.